the first winning season in 6 years here in South Carolina, to me is awesome, and it's good news, and it's based on what we talked about earlier, you building that program. You're the third year, and things have gotten increasingly better.
Yeah, I'm real proud of our guys, Corey. We didn't handle some things real well during the year, especially in the month of January. I thought I didn't do my job as well as I needed to with not X and O stuff, managing personalities behind the scenes. And then our players were so young, we didn't handle whatever success we had early, and we got distracted and didn't stay the course. But yet, when now that I've separated from the year, that's all part of it. It's all part. Our guys didn't understand what it takes to sustain when you're winning, and we had to learn the hard way. There's no shortcuts in learning all this stuff. And when you take in consideration, we beat 5 top 50 teams. We beat 6 teams that played in the NCAA tournament. Our schedule was ranked in the top 30 in the country. Our conference schedule was the hardest of any team in the SEC, and yet we were able to achieve some of the things that we speak about. It's another great step in the right direction.
Well, you talk about the youth, and again, nobody's using that as an excuse. I know you would never do that, but it's reality. And you had those early big wins, Out State, and you dismantled Clemson, Oklahoma State. You've had great wins early. For a young team, is it hard for them to handle that success, though? They start winning, fans get behind them. Oh, yeah, this thing is turning around, and maybe they start listening and reading too many of the press clippings?
Think about this, Corey. If you look back, when we went on that run in December, school was out, students weren't on campus, our guys only had basketball. There was no rules with how much time you can spend with players. So we were in here, not that we ran them into the ground because we're not into that, right, but one-on-one workouts, watching film with them, team practice, guys coming in the gym and getting extra shots with a coach, and you're just in their mind, so you understood they understood what you wanted. We go out and win those games. Now all of a sudden, it's January 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever it is that we're playing Florida, all the students get back on campus. You got all the national guys talking about South Carolina as a top 25 team. Right. If the tournament was right now, South Carolina's in the tournament. Right. Now I'm sitting there telling my guys, you guys don't change what you've done. Right. Don't pay attention to this stuff. Right. We didn't have anyone in the locker room that's ever been through that. So there was not a voice in there amongst the peers that can kind of keep everyone in the right place. So we had to go through it. Right. And we didn't handle it the right way. I don't think I handled things early in conference play the way I should have. Instead of being more patient with them and kind of put my arms around them a little bit more, I was upset at the fact that we weren't handling things the right way. We got distracted. We started paying attention to the clippings. We started walking around campus as if we've achieved something, and we stopped coming in the gym because now the rules are in place where you only get 20 hours a week. So I can't force guys to come in the gym, and we had to go through it. It's bottom line. We'll be better prepared when we put ourselves in the same situation.
And that's what I look at, going forward in your third year. All the things you just quoted, those are facts. First winning season in 6 years at South Carolina, that's a fact. The 6 SEC wins. For fans, and I tweeted this after the tournament, Frank, that based on what you had, and I'm not saying even from a talent standpoint, but the amount of players that had to go out there and play, and to see how hard they played and how they grinded, got 2 wins, and then playing Georgia for that third time and beating them twice already, had to be difficult. But to see what you guys did with what the deck that you were dealt, to me, is for a fan, you got to see that it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. Unfortunately, we didn't have the manpower in March that we thought we'd have in October. Right. But that's season for you. That's you got to manage that. And what I've learned growing up, Corey, is don't worry about what you don't have. Worry about what you do have, and that's what we try to instill in our players. And guys get hurt. That's kind of part of the deal. I can't go in there and feel sorry that one of my guys is hurt, because then the other guys are going to sit back and say, well, we're not good enough. We can't do that. So our guys learned, and They never ran away from anything. And whether it was distractions within our team, distractions from outside the team, injuries, a bad game, we never allowed anything to break our spirit. And that's the thing that's so much fun to be around those guys. And those guys that finished the year for us, all those experiences made us a real tight, united team. And that Georgia game, we just didn't have it. When you're playing 8 guys and you got to play 3 high-level games 3 consecutive nights, and Georgia's playing the first time in the tournament, and they've got a senior upperclassman-led team that's not real happy because we had beaten them twice. They came out with a certain edge, and we didn't have that that we needed to have. And but with all that said, we fought and stayed the course, and eventually took the lead. Just didn't have enough to close out the game.
Going forward now, you lose Ty Johnson, the only senior on this basketball team. You're going to pick up P.J. Dozier, Chris Silva, a big body guy, physical guy, to add what you have. I mean, going forward, your outlook for the team next year in that 4th year, is that kind of the year you feel like now's the time we make that move? This is the time we really press. We got to get some postseason play.
Yeah, this is the way I view things. Every recruiting class, your object is, when you're building, is the next recruiting class needs to be more talented than your previous recruiting class. That's what you try to do. Always recruit a better player as you move forward. We got 2 guys, in Chris Silva and obviously PJ, who, by the way, how proud does he make all of us here in Columbia? McDonald All-American, all the accolades he's gotten. Such an unselfish kid, so deserving of everything that goes his way.
Absolutely.
But when you add those 2 guys to your program, if the onus was on them to figure things out, that's real hard. But now you have a Sindarius Thornwell. You've got, Dwayne Notice, Michael Carrera, Limonis, all those guys that have been through the fire. They understand what it takes to succeed at the collegiate level. Our friend, the captain, he always uses that resume, uses that line, leave your resume at the door. Mm-hmm. Well, you see those guys now in the locker room, they've gotten better. They understand the ups and downs, the emotional swings, how hard winning a game is. So now when those 2 talented kids walk in this locker room in June, they've got a core of guys in place that they're going to learn how to work from. They're going to learn how to act from. And as you move forward and you put them in competitive environments, their talent, along with that leadership in your locker room, hopefully flourishes a lot sooner rather than later.
So with that help coming and with how you ended the season, even though we're going to lose a note, but I would say that's a good note still, winning 2 SEC games. And I kind of want to talk about the fan base because, it's so awesome when you go into that arena, this past weekend, to see what Don Staley has done, to see that this is a passionate fan base. And I know that you're doing the groundwork, Twitter, and doing things to get folks, the students, all of that. But that's got to be awesome for your kids to see, too. Hey, we're that close to, and we can see what we could be here at South Carolina if we turn this thing around. It's got to be exciting.
Well, Corey, as an athlete, you know that when you walk out to play, if it's an empty gym and that's your school, right, it's disheartening.
Right.
And then you go on the road and your opponent has a packed gym, you're like, man, why can't our people do this and right, help us out the way that School A helps their team out? Well, that's how we felt my first year here.
Right.
Well, that's changing. Now you fast forward a couple years, and the passion of South Carolina fans, what you see at Williams-Brice every Saturday that they take the field, whether it's at a soccer game, the baseball games, we're starting to recreate what Dawn's done with her program. We're creating an excitement for basketball where that arena, which is an unbelievable arena. There's not too many schools in the country can say their home arena is 18,000 and has the luxuries and the things that our arena has. And you can sit back and say, well, men's basketball was in the top 30 in the country in attendance. When you combine men and women, we had more fans than any other program in the country. That's powerful. That's a powerful thing. And that makes our guys understand that every time they walk out of that tunnel, that they have a responsibility to each other, to the coaches that are with them in the background, but to every one of those fans that are coming out there because they believe in what those kids are doing. Because if they didn't believe, they wouldn't come out. And that's what's exciting, is it's starting to blossom. It's starting to grow. We keep watering. Matt Figger, my assistant, always talks about planting them seeds, and you got to water the seed and don't quit on that seed. And that's what we've been trying to do. We're still watering the seeds. We're starting to see them initial stems coming out of the ground, and we're even maybe have a little flower here. And you know, you got to keep cultivating and taking care of them seeds so they grow up and become big, beautiful plants and trees and flowers.
Frank, you as a coach, you know, a lot of folks see you and on the sidelines, you know, the eyes, the stare, you know, getting into a player for making a mistake. But when you sat down on Chalk Talk with us, I got a lot of responses. Folks said, "Wow, Frank's a normal guy. You know, he's likable. He's a nice guy." It was amazing, the feedback that we got, just to see you sitting in this type of setting. That, you know, he smiles, he had fun, he jokes. You know, but you as a coach, you know, and again, I've been around all kinds of coaches, and you mentioned earlier that I had to learn maybe cuddle guy a little bit more than, you know. How do you decide? Because players, you got to coach differently, right? You got to know who you can really push a button versus that guy might need to be more gentle with. How do you deal with that? And is there somebody you talk to as another coach to help you kind of aid in growing as a coach?
Yeah, first, I started coaching when I was 19, and I was coaching the kids from my same neighborhood. And anytime we walked on the floor, I was trying to help them the way the other folks helped me. Right. So coaching to me wasn't 18,000 seat arena where there's a lot of donors and television. Coaching to me is I'm in the neighborhood with my guys, right, and I'm trying to help them the way someone helped me. And that's when I walk in there, that's my tunnel vision. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking about cameras and who's sitting behind the bench. And it's my guys, right, and those are my guys, and this is the way I was raised in my neighborhood, and that's the, you know, and we're trying to fight together to make something so we can all succeed out of this opportunity, and that's where all that comes from. It's that brotherhood, that let's push each other. We're in this together. I'm not just in it for this game. Now we're in this thing for the rest of our lives, 24 hours a day, and you know, Corey, in education, you got to push different buttons. And there's sometimes that I might be mad at you, but I know that if I raise my voice at you, you can't handle that. It's not, you're not cut that way. But the guy right next to you, he hasn't done anything wrong, but he loves it when I challenge him. Right. So then I'll turn around and get after him, knowing that now this guy, based on his response, is going to elevate his play without me ever raising my voice at him, and trying to figure all that stuff out. That's the beauty of coaching, teaching. You can't do everything the same way. We've created a society, Corey, where we think we all have to part our hair the same way, we all have to talk the same way. You know, I coach a kid. I can coach anybody. I've been around so many. When you do it for 30 years, you coach different kids from different backgrounds, families. They look differently. But I always get back to my neighborhood. It's what it brings me back to. You know, I was that kid with no dad, and the father figures in my life were the older people in the neighborhood and my coaches. And my mother's love in the home is what kind of made me respect and made me listen. And I've always been attracted to coaching those kind of guys. And you know, it's there's different folks, different strokes for different folks. You know, there's 350 college programs. I know I'm not everyone's flavor. I understand that. But you know what? For 30 years, I've never walked in the locker room and not have guys to go play with. And so that means that there's people out there that actually enjoy who I am. They enjoy being challenged. I'm honest. I'm not a phony guy. I'm into making people, not winning games. And because my opinion has always been, and it's what life has taught me, that if I can help them become better men, winning takes care of itself. It is. If we're recruiting guys that aren't good enough athletes, then we're not going to win. But if I can recruit guys that are good enough basketball players, athletes, that are willing to grow, then winning will take care of itself. And it's kind of what I enjoy. It's I'm always striving to help guys get better. And this is a line, I use this in recruiting because it's what I believe in. My job is not to help them get a job. My job is to help those guys learn how to keep a job the day they get a job. And because we're all going to get a job, whether it's playing the game or working at a restaurant, we're all getting a job. Are we going to be men enough to keep a job the day we get it? And that's what I strive to teach.
Last couple questions. So, what does Frank Martin do leisurely? I mean, when he's not coaching, when you're not grinding, when you're not out there recruiting, you know, do you go play golf? Do you like to bowl, fish? What do you do to relax?
I like to do all those things. You know, we've actually spoke about sitting down and sharing one of those Cuban things a couple times. My biggest problem right now is that building this program has taken a lot of time off my plate, and the time I got left, I've got a wife, I got 3 young kids. Just this past weekend, I sat and watched my 7-year-old play AAU basketball, first time he ever plays. And I sat in that gym, and it was so much fun just to experience that. So I love to play golf. I'm not any good, but I just enjoy getting out there. I just enjoy getting out there and just relaxing and just smiling and having fun and laughing at someone's bad shots, so I'm not the only one hitting bad shots. But you know, golf takes 5-6 hours away from me. That if I'm not working and I go play golf, then that time, if I give it up from my job, then I don't deserve to keep my job. And when I'm not doing my job, if I don't share it with my kids, then I'm cheating my kids out of my biggest responsibility, which is being a father. So I like being around my kids. I love to laugh. Players will tell you, you know, yeah, it's hard. Those 2.5 hours, I challenge them, and that's business. We're all, them, me, my assistants, we're all going to be judged on how we perform and act for those 2 hours, 2.5 hours, whatever it is. So we have to understand the respect that goes into that. But once those 2.5 hours are done, that commitment to challenge each other, that means that you enjoy being around one another. And then that we sit around, we laugh a lot. I just told you, we got a guy on our team, we call him Schmedium. And that's a nickname given to him by coaches. Right. It's, you know, life's too short to be mad.
Finally, you know, it is March Madness time, and you've been a part of that at K-State. You understand it, the craziness of this tournament. You've actually been on the TV side of it as well, covered it. When you look at, is it not wacky? I mean, the first round was crazy to me. All the upsets, but that's kind of become the norm, right, at the NCAA tournament. I know I was asking you off camera earlier, you know, how does, you know, Georgia State and teams like, you know, Mercer and all these teams that I've never heard of come in and beat some of these major programs? It baffles me.
Yeah, the one and done rule, the one and done rule, and we've created in basketball. I don't recruit football, I don't recruit baseball, so I really don't know how it works in that. But in basketball, we've created a culture at the grassroots level where kids play with one AAU team this weekend. If things don't go their way, they play with a different one next week and a different one the following month. They go to high school A, and they don't like coach, they don't like principal, so they play for high school B the following year. And we've created in our sport at the grassroots level a situation where kids are used to transferring a lot. They change right away. Nobody stays the course, and we all say wait their turn. It's not wait your turn, it's stay the course. That means you keep doing your job every day. And then they get to college, and like we spoke earlier, there's a group of guys in the locker room that are not giving their jobs up. They want to help, but they're not saying, hey, I love the fact that you showed up, you could have my job. So then we have a lot of transfers. We've had last year there were 700 Division I transfers. 700. It's unbelievable. And what happened, and I don't think that transfers are a bad thing. Some people say, oh, it can't happen. We got to teach them better. at the grassroots level, so they manage things better at the college level. But it is what it is. But what happens is most kids don't transfer from small schools to big schools. Most kids transfer from the big schools to the smaller schools because they'll come to, let's use our school. They come to South Carolina. And they're like, well, I wasn't good enough to play there, but maybe if I go to one of those schools you were talking about, I can play right away. Right. Well, then they go there, and then what happens is that school has 2 fifth-year seniors because they both transferred in from bigger schools, so they're confident players because they've played against those kind of competition. And then they've got a couple guys that have been through it for 3-4 years in their own program, and now you play against a team that's talented but very young in the NCAA tournament, which is a different set of emotions. And that team that's more experienced, that's older, more mature, understands that when you play in that setting, every play counts. Every guy not taking a shortcut on a rotation, not finishing off a closeout, as irrelevant it might seem with 13 minutes to go in the game, that closeout might be the difference when the game is over. That were you willing to take that extra step and get your hand up to get him off the three-point line, or were you a little tired and you finished your closeout short, so that guy jumps up and makes a shot? That at the time everyone thinks irrelevant, but Bob Knight said it best. Basketball is a game of mistakes. Whoever makes the fewest wins. 9 times out of 10, the person that has the most experience is going to make fewer mistakes than the one with the least experience.
Wow. Good stuff. Well, South Carolina basketball, first winning season in 6 years, 5 top 50 wins, the toughest schedule in the SEC, and did it with about 7 or 8 players. So if you don't think this program is moving in the right direction under Frank Martin, I think you need to see a neurologist, just my opinion. Of course, Frank, we thank you for your time. Always a pleasure. Looking forward to great things with the basketball team. Appreciate it.
Thanks for that.